Hey everyone, it's Riley here. So I just want to do a question and answer video for you guys, and I'm sorry that this video is a little bit later than expected. So yeah, I'm just gonna get right to it. So question was, how have I been, and then anything that's new in my life. I've been pretty good. This year's been kind of a odd one to be honest, and just have had a lot going on. So just been trying to focus on all of the things that have been happening. What's new in my life is not a whole lot. Like the biggest thing is dealing with my electrolysis and laser, like all of that. Right now is taking up a lot of my time, and with friends, work, family, making new connections, stuff like that. Just basic life stuff. Nothing really major. I would say is new in my life. But yeah, I've been doing okay, and just focusing on the things I need to. So the next question was the moment I knew I needed change, and I'm gonna say this is regarding my transition. For me, I'm gonna say it was when I was about 23. So prior to 23, I knew I was trans at about actually the age of 21, and even prior, but I just didn't really know like what words to express or how to really come out. And I started coming out at 21, but I didn't completely come out till I was 23, and it just basically was this consistent lead up to wanting to be myself. And I knew that I was uncomfortable with myself, but I just didn't say anything at the time because I knew that my family wasn't going to be 100% accepting, at least some of them. And then I was afraid of losing them or being kicked out, and just completely opening up and actually like even still like taking the steps to transition, because it's scary, but I also knew I needed to do it because I wasn't happy with where I was at. So is yeah, that was I guess the major point that I knew I needed a change when it came to my transition was about the age of 23, and it's just everything that prior in my life that had happened and leading up to that point just basically pushed me to finally come out and just be myself. The next question was, so why the electrolysis on my arms? And so as you can actually see, I have no hair on one arm and hair still on the one. So I'm actually only getting electrolysis and laser on this arm. And for those who don't know, I am FTM transgender, and I'm basically in the last stages right now of going through with phalloplasty. So what they do is they take a graft from either like usually your leg or your arm are the two major I guess choices that you see a lot of. There are a few other options, but I'm just going to be talking about these two. So with right now is I'm going through electrolysis and laser because I'm getting basically everything done with phalloplasty. I'm getting urethral lengthening, the creation. So with urethral lengthening and urethral hookup, you use the bottom of the arm is where that part comes from, at least for some of it, and then the rest of it is just your phallus. But I really don't want like hair on my phallus, so I just chose to completely do my entire arm. But the major point is underneath here, which I've kind of touched on before. So basically, I just need to not have hair on my arm for surgery, which is why I'm getting electrolysis and laser done. So hopefully that answers your question for you. The next question was actually, how did I decide on which bottom surgery was right for me? And this is kind of tricky, and I'm going to hopefully not make this too long. But when I first started looking into surgery, and I've touched base on this before, I was looking at doing ALT, and I actually, that's what I had my heart set on, which is choosing to take a graft from my leg. Now, when I moved here, I found out that they didn't offer this, so I had to kind of rethink some things, weigh my pros and cons, and then I also thought about like where I want to be in the future and what I want to physically see myself as. And for me, that was surgery, and that was regardless of like how I got surgery. I just knew I wanted surgery, so I started looking more into RFF. The pros, the cons, and then talking with a surgeon, as I mentioned in video. I just found that choosing RFF with her especially was the safest and best option for me. They just only started offering ALT this year. But yeah, so for me, just knowing that she was still very new to doing surgeries in the clinic with ALT, like she's had some obviously coaching and stuff like that, but just to date, the clinic has not done any. So, knowing even still that she's done obviously phalloplasty, like I feel comfortable going to her, but just for my own anxieties and stuff, I just the pros and cons, I knew RFF was the best option for me. And even though I didn't really want it initially, was the arm scar was the biggest thing. which is kind of why I wanted with the ALT. But overall, eventually I can get a tattoo on my arm and, cover everything up. So I'm not honestly too worried. But basically the ultimatum and the ultimate choice was, to choose, still go with the surgery that I wanted, but then, maybe have some complications, or go with one that, I and she would be more comfortable with, and in the long run, kind of, just be able to cover it up still and not have those insecurities about, my scar. And yeah, so sorry about the ramble there. And then last question was, what are some challenges about being in a relationship during transition? I'm gonna, I guess, touch a little bit on this because other than my last relationship, which was recent, was only about like 10 months. And then the last relationship before that would have been basically going into 5 years ago. And it was a 2-year on and off relationship. And then a year before that, I was in another 2-year on and off relationship. So other than those two relationships, which were now over like 9, almost 10 years ago, because the first girl that I dated was when I was 18. So yeah, that was basically now 10 years ago. Those two relationships were the only thing I have to really go off of. And the first one, I was not out. The second one, that was 2 years on and off, I came out near the end of that relationship. And at the end of that relationship with her, it definitely was rocky because, she wasn't really supportive, didn't really know, like, I guess, what pronouns to use, but was trying, and it was kind of just, weird. But since that relationship, I've dated a little bit here and there, and then was, like, recently seeing someone for about, like, 10 months, like I said, and everyone who I've been encountered with, at least in dated, everyone has been pretty much supportive. In the beginning, it was a little tricky because people, saw me as I was then, but knew me as Riley, and sometimes would slip up a little bit more or had a hard time using the correct pronouns because of how I looked, I guess. And, at times it was a little bit tricky, but, I'm going to say the most part, most people, obviously, if they knew about me, were accepting. If they didn't, so I've been on some, some dating sites before, and at times I did not have that I was trans, so meeting people that didn't know and then telling them, sometimes certain situations kind of went weird, and maybe I'll make another video on this, but like most of the time, if the person didn't know and I told them, I would say 90% of the time, usually they were pretty accepting, and even if it didn't lead into a relationship, but we still ended up being friends, that they were okay with it. So, yeah, I would say most of the time it's pretty okay. To be honest, I'm pretty open about it now. Like, if I meet someone, I pretty much straight away would tell them, even if it's just a friend, because, I'd rather someone know and then choose to even have somewhat of a connection or any type of connection with me than to just, try and get to know them and then tell them and then them act kind of like weird about it, which, it's stupid. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. I'm still a person, and, regardless of a friendship, it shouldn't matter. But to some people it does. So I'd rather just get it out of the way, tell them, and not have someone in my life who isn't going to be accepting anyways. So, but yeah, I'd say that's pretty much it. When it comes to relationships, I can't really say too much because it's not like I've been in a relationship since before my transition and still in one. I've just dated a little bit here and there and had a few relationships here and there. But yeah, overall, like, no complaints here. With the people that I've dated, very like open, obviously accepting, and pretty supportive for the most part. So. But I pretty much think that's it for this video. And again, I do apologize for being so late. And like I said, if you guys have any questions or anything, you can always put it in the comments below. Anyways, I'll let you go, and bye for now.